Tuesdays is known as $2 Tuesdays at WagerTalk.com and SportsMemo.com, where you can get the hottest handicappers best bet or daily package for only $2.
We are live, and it is Tuesday, March 29th. Wager Talk Today here on Wager Talk TV, as we are every Monday through Friday, noon Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific. But don't forget, Teddy Covers. You can find us 24/7, 365 on Wager Talk TV and all the replays. You can also listen to us any time of day or night on your favorite podcast app. We have a nice little show here on Tuesday. It's the quiet before the storm, the Final Four this weekend, but we have the NIT Final Four going tonight on Tuesday. And just a quick reminder, we'll be breaking both of those games down in about an hour and a half at 1:45 Eastern here on College Tip-Off. I'll be on with Matt Josephs and Dave Koken, but you're going to do a little big game breakdown on one of those, so stay tuned for Teddy Covers NIT Final Four style. Also going to lead it off with Ralph Michaels. Also have Brandon, Tokyo Brandon from the Far East. It's about 1 a.m. Tokyo time. It's Wednesday. He's a dead ahead of us. He's in his time machine. But before we get to all of that, Teddy, want to know what you learned last night on Monday? A lot of NBA action last night. Did you learn anything in the world of sports?
I did. And I can't say it's a lesson learned. It's a lesson reinforced right here. The Memphis Grizzlies blew out Golden State by halftime last night. There was no backdoor coming for the Warriors in that ballgame. And, of course, they did it without Ja Morant in the lineup. Memphis now, without Morant this year, he's missed 20 games. And I'm screwed. I can't remember if it's 17-3 straight up, 18-2 ATS, or 18-2 straight up, 17-3 ATS. Either way, okay, all they've done without Ja Morant in the lineup is be a significantly undervalued commodity, kicking butt and taking names. All right, that's a wow stat, whether it's 18-2 straight up or 17-3 ATS or the vice versa. And it speaks volumes about how deep this Grizzlies team really is. They're number one in the league against the spread, 50-26, 53-23 straight up now. The number 2 seed in the West. And you look at Memphis on a night in, night out basis, they're still an undervalued commodity, especially when Morant doesn't play. Because if you ask a casual fan, name me a Memphis Grizzlies, they'll give you Morant. You say, name me another one. Whole lot of silence. Memphis continues to be the point spread story in the NBA this year. Covered another spread last night without their all-star. What about you, Steve? What did you learn last night?
Yeah, it's interesting, Teddy, because I was going to take the same angle, but the opposite result. And we've talked about the last couple of years, how if you just blindly play on these teams without their star when they're getting an extra 2 or 3 baskets, how they've covered probably 67% on the blind. But as you just said, Memphis has been the one exception to that rule. They've almost made up all the money the other way in those situations. But I kind of got bit by that last night as I put out Toronto minus 4.5 to my clients. I thought it was a spot Boston might not be taking seriously. So I wasn't shocked when some guys were sitting out, but then the line goes up to 8, 8.5, even close as high as 9. And of course they win by 3, and they were actually losing late in that game. So it's one of those situations where I liked it better when it was 4.5, knowing maybe some players were in the lineup than when the other thing happened. So it's amazing, that you bring up a team that's actually been good in that role, because most other teams, Teddy, as we've talked about, have not been good. And Toronto won but failed to cover in that spot last night against your Celtics. It's amazing how that's been working the last couple of years.
Well, this is not a short-term concept, where the star sits, the opposing team says, oh, the star's sitting.
Right.
So the star sits, the point spread jumps. The opposing team says, oh, the star's sitting, we can win this game. Their intensity isn't there. And all of a sudden, there's an extra 25 shots to be distributed on the team that's missing the star. And there are plenty of good players in the NBA, even the non-superstars who can take advantage of those extra opportunities and looking to make their name when they have the extra playing time. It's simple human psychology played out in point spread form that has been a long-term NBA moneymaker. And the markets themselves in the NBA, Steve, all they bet is players. This guy's in, this guy's out. This guy's in, this guy's out. They're just playing. The majority of the NBA money is coming in on player availability rationale. And in my mind, that's not the best way to beat the NBA. It's not even close.
And you almost wonder sometimes, though, that they know the odds makers are doing it, so they just jump on it because they know they can middle the game, come back and try to middle it a little bit too. But the bottom line is, like you said, whether it's the bettors or the odds makers, the lines are moving 3, 4, 5 points sometimes. One thing I'll say also that works very well, we've talked about this a lot on NBA Tip-Off. It's on every day at 4:15 Eastern here. The over is worth a look in some of these games in these situations because, as you said, Teddy, these other guys can still score. Unlike in college basketball where you have a huge drop-off from one player to the next, these are guys that are all all-stars on their college basketball teams. And the way you make the NBA roster isn't showing you can play shutdown defense when you get your audition is to put up 20 points. And that game last night, the total, that Toronto-Boston game, the total dropped 8 points, 220 down to 212, and it still soared over 227. So that's something else to keep an eye on is the adjusted value of the over. Is that something you sometimes look at?
Absolutely. And look, late in the NBA season, when you find an excuse to bet an over, you bet the over. There's a lot of teams at this stage where the defensive intensity isn't what it was even a month ago coming out of the All-Star break, or a month and a half ago coming out of the All-Star break. So you can certainly, this is a time of year where overs for teams that aren't playing a whole lot of defense, if you blindly bet them, there's certainly worse bets you can make than bet some overs in the NBA down the stretch.
That's Teddy Covers. I'm Steve Merril. This is Wager Talk Today. And don't forget, let's bring on Ralph Michaels because it is $2 Tuesday at WagerTalk.com. It's also $5 Tuesday for three cappers. That's $1.67 Tuesday at SportsMemo.com. You get 3 for $5 at SportsMemo.com, or you get Ralph, the human database, the walking database, for $2. And Ralph, I don't dare ask you if your computer would explode trying to figure out when players are in the lineup or not, but it'd be a pretty interesting number to have stats on if we could figure out a way to quantify that into database form. But I'll get your thoughts real quick on key players missing the NBA, and also let us know what you got going for $2 Tuesday.
Well, 6th straight 5% winner. I apologize if my audio is a little off. I could have some issues today. Going for 7th straight 5% basketball. You are getting an NIT game tonight, only $2. Don't miss out. Number 1 last year in college basketball in March. Number 1 the last 2 years combined, college basketball in March. 5% play for $2.
Yeah, once again, NIT semifinals tonight. Teddy's going to have a big game breakdown, but Ralph Michaels has a strong 5% play as he goes for his 7th straight winner. It's quite simple. It's just $2. Normally that play alone, people, would be $35 at WagerTalk.com, but you're getting it for just $2 Tuesday, Ralph Michaels. Ralph, you want to start with the chart? Want to look at, I think, a little NHL here? What do you want to start with?
Let's do it, Steve. Last Thursday, you, Prez, and I were on, and I broke down a chart. NHL teams do off a loss as a favorite. And while some charts have great ATS records, negative ATS records, even when those ATS records are in that 500 range, it's important to know as a gambler to not overlook a situation and put too much emphasis on it. Dan, if you could throw us the chart. On the left with the yellow heading was the same we showed last week with some updated numbers. Take a look at NHL teams' offense. There was really no profitable situation. The only true profitable situation is if you're off a shutout loss as a favorite, you've been up some units. So Prez asked me to run those same numbers on the puck line. So you're 1.5 you're laying 1.5 goals. Well, look at the average line in the orange category. Right. You're, of course, plus money because you're laying the 1.5 goals. And what does it show us? When you loss as a favorite, be it on the money line or the puck line, it has not been a positive situation. And in fact, there are more negative situations. So don't automatically your favorite NHL team that's off a loss, even as a 200 favorite. In the next game, yes, they may win 67% of their games, but when your average price is $1.50, that's not going to make you money.
And we see this a lot, Ralph, where a straight up record, particularly in the money line sports, in the NHL, in MLB, where the straight up record is great, but it's not actually profitable to bet. How do you educate bettors about that particular nuance of betting the money line sports where it's not about the winning percentage, It's about the ROI.
Teddy, we'll do much more of that with baseball coming up and looking at how to bet big favorites. But as simply as this, it's do not fall into traps and situations. And there is no more important thing in the NHL to look at what your average line is when you're looking at the records. So again, records very misleading in the NHL. The database I go to has the breakdowns, obviously, with the average line, the profit, and the return on risk. So number one thing, don't fall in love with records without knowing what the average line was for that team in that situation.
It's Ralph Michaels, WagerTalk.com. And of course, we'll all be talking a lot more baseball in a little over a week. Next Thursday/Friday, we get some baseball regular season action, only about a week and a half away. And we still have some good early bird pricing specials, substantial discounts for all the cappers at WagerTalk.com. Ralph Michaels, of course, is $2 Tuesday. He has a strong 5% NIT semifinal best bet tonight on Tuesday. But Ralph, while we have you, I want to look at a little NBA here. Let's look at Detroit and Brooklyn. This is an interesting game for a few reasons. The Nets still favored to win the Eastern Conference at many sports books, even though they're technically not in the playoffs yet, and might have to be at a one and done, maybe at best a two and done to even get in. I find that very interesting. These books, of course, don't let you take the no bet on those, so it's not a lot of risk for the house. But more importantly, the Detroit Pistons have been the hottest basketball point spread team in all of sports the last couple months. Look like they're cooling off a little bit here, but catching a big number. Currently a 13.5, even 14-point dog in some spots. Detroit at Brooklyn tonight in the NBA, Ralph. How are you playing it?
Well, I just think this line is inflated, incredibly inflated. Of course, the Pistons, Amari Grant, their leading scorer. He got injured a couple games ago. They kept him out last game, and now they officially shelved him for the rest of the year. Listen, they're building with young kids. They want to finish with one of the worst 3 records to be in the league. And then on the flip side, you have Kyrie Irving, who now gets to play at home. So the situation looks like it's going to favor Brooklyn. But how about this number? The Brooklyn Nets, their last 18 games as a home favorite, have gone 1-17. They are 1-17 as a home favorite. And Kyrie Irving is back, yes. But look, he struggled. He's playing with a lot of pressure in front of his home guys for the first time. He played in that Charlotte game. That was my underdog game of the week in the NBA. What do? They lose outright by 9 points. Detroit, the perfect team, 6-10 straight up the last 16 games, but 14-3 against the spread. Kate Cunningham and Marvin Bagley Jr. III, plenty of offense to keep it within this number. And oh yeah, FYI, NBA dogs of 12 or more this year, 59.3%. If you blindly played them, a 60% angle is for playing those dogs of 12 or more.
So when you read the quotes out of Brooklyn, and certainly, look, I'm not making a case for the Nets, given their long-term point spread struggles in this role. I mean, laying points with Brooklyn at home this year has been an absolute disaster, and it's been quiet and it stayed under the radar. And if you've been betting against the Nets in this role, you made a bunch of money this year. But here we are. Now Irving's healthy. They're coming off a loss, and they're coming off a home loss in Irving's first home game. And it felt to me like, reading the post-game quotes, there was more frustration than usual for Brooklyn. It felt like maybe this is where Brooklyn comes out and tries to stick it to a team that they haven't really been able to do very often this season. And of course, Detroit, without Grant, with defensive matchup issues, I don't know if Cunningham stay in front of Irving? I'm not convinced he can. Given the concerns about the Pistons, they're hanging around, but any team that really wants to beat Detroit is going to beat them. And given the potential intensity here for Brooklyn, does it give you any red flags, any thoughts that maybe this isn't the spot to step in front of the Nets? Or is it just let's ride this trend till it dies and it keeps on cashing?
Well, again, I think Kyrie's going to be playing with pressure. It's on his shoulders now. The contract, not having to be able to play at home. And I'm not really worried about the double digits. The Pistons have only allowed 43.2% shooting in their last 5 games. Now, granted, 3 of those games had Grant playing. But more importantly, if the Nets get up by 14 in the fourth quarter, guess what? Their next game is a home game against the defending champion Milwaukee Bucks. If you can rest some guys late and only win by 10, I have no problem seeing them do that with the Bucks on deck.
Yeah, once again, the Pistons might not care about winning, but they also don't need to lose by 15 every game, right? A 1 or 2 point loss serves the same purpose as a 10 or 12 point loss. And Brooklyn also doesn't need to be winning by 16 to get farther up in the standings. They just need to win as well. So that's talked about puck lines, money lines with hockey. Same thing with straight up wins versus ATS wins in pro sports. Two different mindsets between bettors and the players. Hey, by the way, we mentioned baseball starts in a week and a half. I was talking to Gabe Morency a couple weeks ago, and he brought up a good point that as of a couple weeks ago, Aaron Judge would miss half the games this season because he hadn't said if he was vaccinated or not playing in New York. And we talked about the home run prop was set at like 37.5, basically like he was playing all the games. Morency said there's no way it's changing overnight. I said, I feel he's going to play. I hadn't looked into it, and this is what I was talking about. The mayor basically lifted it last Wednesday for Irvin, and I don't think that's a coincidence right before the NBA playoffs started. But anyway, Aaron Judge will be able to play home games now. However, he still cannot play in Toronto. They cannot cross the border still. So he would miss some divisional games there in Toronto, something to keep an eye on if you're handicapping baseball futures. And we'll, of course, have a lot more baseball talk here within the next week on Wager Talk TV. Let's finish off with some hockey. Let's circle back around to hockey, though, Ralph. You showed that chart with, favorites off a loss and vice versa, how they've done and whatnot. Toronto's coming off a nice win as a favorite. Boston, meanwhile, has won 7 of the last 8, so it doesn't apply to this game, but 2 teams in decent current form. Bruins against the Maple Leafs. Prez isn't here to defend his Maple Leafs. Do you dare go against them in your absence? Boston right now about $1.30 home favorite.
Now, I want to say this. The NHL is pretty much picking certain situations. I am not an Andrew McGinnis. I am not a Karam. I am not a Prez. I do not follow the NHL that deep. With that said, I'm over 63% this year and finished over 60% last year, being very, very selective. This Boston line seems very cheap to me. Boston, 4 straight winners, and as you said, 7-1 their last 8 games. And while Toronto seems to be in good current form, they're playing their 3rd game in 4 days while Boston's sitting on 2 days rest. You look at Toronto, their last 3 road games. They lost outright at Buffalo as a 280 favorite, outright to Nashville as a 120 favorite, and outright to Montreal as a 250 favorite. They failed to win each of their last 4 as an away dog. You have the better goalie in Swayman, who's now 19-8-3 this season. And to me, coming off that big win against Florida, going on the road, Boston in this situation against a rested team, being a rested foe, minus 130 seems cheap to me. This was an actual client play for me today. Boston minus the $1.30.
He's Ralph Michaels, WagerTalk.com. You just got some NHL and some NBA from him, but if you want his strongest play, if you want some NIT action, Ralph, tell them how they can get it for just $2 tonight, $2 Tuesday, WagerTalk.com.
Pretty simple. WagerTalk.com. Go to WT.buzz/RM. You'll get my 5% play, 6 straight 5% winners. Number 7 hopefully goes tonight, and you get to watch it. So if you're going to watch the NIT, you might as well win.
That's normally $35. You're getting a substantial discount with $2 Tuesdays. He goes for his 7th straight 5% winner. He's on a mere 17-6-1, 74% run his last 24 plays overall, Teddy. So Ralph Michaels, red hot. Thanks for joining us, Ralph. And Teddy, we're going to keep it with the NIT. Give me 30 seconds, and I want to come back and hear a little big game breakdown, NIT style, from Teddy Covers in just 30 seconds.
Yes, there will be baseball. After a 99-day lockout, we now have a complete 162-game schedule starting with opening day on April 7th. To celebrate the return of baseball, we want to do a wow promotion, so here we go. The first 50 customers will get the full season of MLB, including the playoffs, for just over $3 per day. How much of a wow is this? MLB through the All-Star break is priced at $7.95, and through the World Series is priced at $1,095. But the first 50 customers can get MLB through the World Series for $6.99. No coupon is needed, and this comes out to just over $3 per day. Once we hit 50 redemptions, the super early bird discount will come down, and the lowest possible price to lock in baseball will no longer be available. So act fast before you get shut out on our biggest price drop ever.
It is time for today's big game breakdown. Let's talk NIT on ESPN tonight. The late game, Washington State and Texas A&M. Right now, looking at the Wager Talk live odds screen, I'm seeing the Aggies. There's been Washington State money this morning. Got bet up to 2 last night, back down to 1.5 today. We have seen some under money come in as well. 133/133.5 last night, down to 132 this morning. So really, we're seeing two-way action on the side at the current total. We are seeing under money for Washington State and Texas A&M so far this morning. And look, you ask anybody around town here in Vegas, who's the best team not in the NCAA tournament? Texas A&M, Texas A&M. And they might be right. But it's not always about who's the best team in the NCAA tournament. It's about which team's offering value. It's about how the matchups work. It's about how the situation works. And both of these teams improved by leaps and bounds down the stretch. A&M got credit for it, in the betting markets. Betting markets real excited about A&M down the stretch because they beat up a bunch of SEC schools that ended up sucking in the NIT and the NCAA tournament. Guess what? Washington State won 8-2 their last 10. Didn't get a whole lot of credit in the betting markets for it. Betting markets weren't excited about the Pac-12, understandably so. And the matchups, man. Just ask Miami or Iowa State. Neither of whom are one of the 16 best teams in the country, or the 8 best teams in the country, or the 32 best teams in the country. And yet they both found their way to the Sweet 16. One found their way to the Elite 8. The matchups matter, and the matchups today work for Wazoo. And everyone keeps going, why is this line so short? Why is this line so short? Look, this is a pick'em game, and if I'm taking +2, even +1.5 in a pick'em game, I'll do that every day forever and be done with my work for the day. Positive expectation wagers. All right. Washington State won all 3 of their NIT games by double digits. All right. The offense has been clicking. The defense has been clicking all year. Ranked number 26 on Ken Palm. All right. What does A&M do well? They're not a great shooting team. 230th in three-point percentage, 251st in three-point rate. They turn the ball over a lot. Their strength is on the offensive glass. They pound the offensive glass hard. They finish at the rim very well. But that doesn't necessarily work against Washington State. Not with Abagidi in the low post, who's been a monster. He's had 4 more steals and blocks in each game of the NIT so far. This is a guy with NBA potential. He's the rim protector. That is going to be a problem for an A&M team that wants to play a lot of ISO with their guards trying to drive one-on-one. That doesn't work against Washington State. And then you have Michael Flowers, who was able to take over a game against BYU. He has now surpassed Klay Thompson. Klay Thompson, his single-season three-point record for Washington State. Flowers is the difference maker tonight. I think Wazoo gets the job done. A&M might be the best team, not in the NCAA tournament, but they ain't winning tonight. Give me Washington State plus the 1.5. And shop around. Find a +2. They're still out there. There's your big game breakdown. Back to you, Mr. Merril.
And the NIT is always so tricky, Teddy, because we talk about those teams that barely miss the NCAA tournament are so disappointed. And for the most part, that does hold up. But then A&M is the one team that, kind of found a way to play through that here and make the Final Four, where a lot of those other teams are not playing anymore. And by the way, when the NIT started, Washington State was one of the most unlucky teams. We talked about Providence. Washington State was one of the most unlucky teams all season long. So it's not a shock to me that they've made this run, this NIT tournament, as they were a little bit undervalued, I thought, coming in to the postseason. So interesting to see that luck factor actually work for a play-on situation. We'll see if it holds up tonight. That's the late game of the NIT. By the way, I have a strong best bet in the Xavier-St. Bonaventure game on my page right now at WagerTalk.com, along with both of the Final Four games for Saturday. I loaded those in advance, so you can lock in the best numbers there. And Teddy Covers, my co-host, has just been red hot. 57-29, Teddy, 66% on all sports over the past month plus now, 91% increase in units won in just 1 month. Just been smoking them as well. I know you're going to have some strong best bets also here on Tuesday at WagerTalk.com as well. And another guy, a great way to diversify your portfolio, because ding, 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 5% alert for Japanese baseball has been loaded by Tokyo Brandon. I said earlier he was 13 hours ahead of us, and of course I jinxed myself by saying that. He actually got in his hot tub time machine. He's now 14 hours behind where he would normally be, because he's Arizona Brandon this week, but he's still handicapping the Asian sports nonetheless. We'll still call you Tokyo Brandon. Welcome to the show, Brandon. What you doing in Arizona? A little spring training?
Nice to be here, guys. Nice to see you. I'm actually visiting family and friends. I haven't been out here since 2018. So I'm in my mom's house. So enjoy the background.
Not a bad place to be. And of course, you've got a Major League MLB background as a scout, and that's why you do so well with the Japanese baseball. So let's get right into a game here. Give us a Japanese. By the way, you're going to have a show, I believe, on Mondays and Thursdays at WagerTalk TV here at WagerTalk.com. So it's something to keep an eye on. Let us know about that and give us a play tonight. I want the Marines and the SoftBank Hawks. That's a game I've been eyeing.
Yes, and thanks for mentioning the show. Adam Trigger is another great Wager Talk handicapper. Him and I are going to be doing an Asian baseball show 2 times a week on Mondays and Thursdays. Starting this Thursday, we're going to do it live for the first kickoff show. So stay tuned for that. And I do have a 5% play tonight in Japanese baseball. In my last 13 5% baseball plays, I'm 10-0 with 3 pushes. So it's something to jump on. It's offered at WagerTalk.com on my page right now. As Steve mentioned, there is a game tonight between the Chibalote Marines and the SoftBank Hawks. So I'm going to give this one out as a free play. And tonight I like the Chibalote Marines team total. Now, some of you might not be able to bet team totals. Look around, find them. They're widely available. I do get people telling me sometimes they can't find them, but search around because the Chibalote Marines team total tonight is 2.5, and it's way too low. Tsuyoshi Wada is the starting pitcher for the SoftBank Hawks, and he's one of those guys who's been around forever. He used to be a major stud, but he's fallen off a cliff lately. He is not holding it down. The SoftBank Hawks were the champions 2 years ago, so the bookmakers give them a lot more credit than they deserve. Their bullpen is not what it used to be. This starting pitcher is not what he used to be. Chibalote Marines have scored 10, 5, 6, and yesterday they only scored 1, so they're getting slighted, but they have power in their lineup. So Chibalote Marines on the over 2.5 is my free play today. I gave it out as a 3% client play about half hour ago.
So this guy Wada is one of these. He's like a veteran. Obviously, he's been a sensational starting pitcher in his career, but now it looks. I mean, I guess you're telling us he's well past his prime. With a guy like this, who's been sensational and is now looking like bet against, we're looking team totals on the other side over. Is that the best way to play these, Brandon?
If it was 3.5, I might not take it, but at 2.5, this lineup for the Chibalote Marines is pretty darn explosive. So even with a guy with that pedigree of Wada, I still like the over here.
And, you know, we talk about the strong 5% best bet for Brandon. He's been smoking 5% in Japanese baseball. It's not a surprise because he just wins in general in Japanese and Korean baseball. But I want to put in perspective how much money you can win with Tokyo Brandon. You know, last week's Prez said when he was at the poker table in Vegas, somebody asked him, what's the single one capper sport I should buy at Wager Talk? And Prez, to his credit, didn't say me, which is the first time in his life he probably hasn't done that when asked any question. But he said Tokyo Brandon, and I can't disagree, folks. He was 66 games above 500 in Korean baseball last year. He was 96 games above 500 in Japanese. That's plus 162 net games. I know the money line factors in, but you're not playing like minus 2,000 favorites. So I'm pretty sure you came out all right on those two. But that's 162 net games to the positive in the two sports. And it's pure diversification because Teddy and myself aren't releasing Asian baseball. So get Teddy's package. Get my package, Steve Merril. Teddy covers. Get Brandon and make even more money. It's an investment, and that's how you diversify. Speaking of diversification, I'm going to look at some NHL, though, real quick. Ralph talked about the Bruins and Leafs. He looked at the side. You've got a team total angle here with Toronto and Boston in the NHL tonight. Let us know about that.
I do. And before I mention that, I want to mention one more thing about Asian baseball. The lines are quite soft. So in the year 2021, I was able to get a plus 264% profit on the year. And most of that was because of baseball and the ice cream soft numbers that the books put out for Asian baseball as compared to MLB. So back to the Toronto Maple Leafs game tonight. I know Ralph touched on it, and I know everyone and their mother is on the Boston Bruins tonight. And hey, I don't care if the Bruins win. That's just fine with me. But I think the team total for the Maple Leafs at 2.5 is just way too low. I realize Swayman has been out of his mind. I realize he's playing really well. But a team like the Maple Leafs with a team total at 2.5, 2-2 game, put it into overtime, and anyone could win it. I think 2.5 is way too low for the power packed team like the Maple Leafs. So I'm on the Toronto team total over 2.5 tonight. I gave that to clients as well about a half an hour ago.
It's Tokyo Brandon / today Arizona Brandon. And you said everybody and their mother is on the Boston Bruins. So I assume you talked to your mother as well, since you're in the house right now, and found out that she is also on the Bruins. So he has some inside information there, Teddy Coverns. Once again, Brandon will be back this Thursday live with Adam Traeger. So Brandon, thanks for joining us. We'll see you soon. Looking forward to that Asian baseball show every Monday and Thursday here on Wager Talk TV, starting this Thursday live from Tokyo Brandon. And once again, he dominates Korean and Japanese baseball, and he has a strong 5% Japanese baseball play going tonight, so don't delay. Check him out at wagertalk.com. And Teddy Covers, I forgot to mention our next guest at the start of the show. I didn't do it on purpose. I was just trying to think, who do we have on from wagertalk.com today? And I was like, well, we got Tokyo Brandon, we got Ralph Michaels. I couldn't think of who else it was, and that's because there's no one else from wagertalk.com. It's from sportsgrid.com, SportsGrid TV, Dave Sharapan from the Las Vegas Strip, Sports BK Consig on Twitter. And Dave, I missed you last Friday night on the in-game live. I heard maybe you're doing some coaching. Was that a correct assessment of why you were not able to join me?
I was at a weekend series for the oldest. Big Consig Kylie was playing. CSN hosted Salt Lake something, I don't know, but they had a 2-gamer on Friday and a 2-gamer on Saturday, and I was at the games. And driving in Vegas is like an Olympic sport right now when there's people in town. And I was on the other side of town, and I knew I wasn't going to make it back. So I was like, I just had to tell the boys I wasn't going to make it. It took me an hour and 20 minutes, the other day to drive across town to Henderson when it normally takes without traffic, 36 max. So
my goodness,
it was a nightmare. I was like, yeah, Friday and Saturday, no way. Driving around town was terrible.
There's nowhere in town you can go that takes an hour and 20 minutes. You can go from the farthest end of Centennial to the far end of Henderson, and you're not an hour and 20 minutes.
I know. It was a disaster between, two accidents, I guess, and then construction and trying to get around it. And, yeah, I was really aggravated. So I was like, yep, Friday, I'm not going to do it. I put a poll on Twitter. What is the worst, weekdays or weekends or every day driving in Vegas? Every day won by a landslide. So, it was crazy.
It's so busy, no one goes there no more. That's what Yogi said, right?
It's going to get that way if people keep coming, but it was fun, man. Like we saw so many people at that, meet and greet and all that stuff. No drama. We had Prez there, but there was no drama. There's no drama today. Even you forgot to mention me in the open. Merril, it's fine. It's all good.
I know.
I don't even care.
I don't see you for one Friday, and you just slipped my mind. But I'll give you Flex Tuesday.
Believe me, we're all one week or 2 weeks away from being forgotten. That's why we got to keep doing these shows and keep doing all this stuff.
It's quiet time. Baseball's about to start.
I know, right?
But I want to ask you, Dave. Your daughter's playing college ball now, college softball.
Yeah. My oldest is a freshman at CSN playing softball, so that's good. It's a JUCO, but it's in town, and she's working towards whatever the next step's going to be. But as a freshman, getting a lot of playing time and learning the game, and it's a good way for her sister, who's a junior, to see this route as possible. They put so much pressure on these kids to do all this stuff, man, and so it's working out good. And you don't need the validation of it actually happening, but like I coached a lot of kids growing up from 12U to 18U, and was blessed that 6 of the 7 seniors went on to play college softball somewhere at different schools all over the country like that. So we were changing lives, through ground ball and fly ball drills and weekend tournaments, and, listening to the parents bitch and complain, and all of it. It was all well worth it.
So is there any takeaway, because you're like a dad of an athlete, is there any takeaway that you can say that's something you've learned about betting on college sports from your daughter's experience? Is there anything that we can extrapolate from that?
I say it all the time. Coaching these kids made me so much better in understanding all of it. I mean, the challenges that they have just in high school going to college is so much. And the way they think, I mean, you see it in the way I tweet and the way I talk. I'm around them all the time. And when you apply it to sports, it's the same. It's just on bigger, stronger, whatever athletes, but they're still kids and they're still coached. Like, yes, so many things. I can't think of one in particular, like right off the top of my head, but I think it helps to be relatable to young kids and understand, like, some of them just don't care. Like, it's just sometimes you're just gonna, you can coach, you can this, you can that. They have so much going on in their lives that it's a distraction. Playing is a distraction. And it's, instead of being the best part of their day, it's not. And they're struggling to find playing time. They're struggling to, like on a softball field, they just can't hit the ball the other way. A guy just can't make free throws. They're trying the best they can, but they can't get over that hump. And, you see people bash, like, how could this kid make this shot? Or why didn't he think about this? I put it more on the coaching at that point. So I'm always a defender of the kids and the players in college, and more like, listen, man, the coach got to put that in their head. The coach has to tell them. It took 4 years, Teddy, to practice like a double relay cut from the right field corner to the second baseman, to the first baseman, to home, to actually execute it. It took 4 years. I almost passed out in the dugout when it finally happened. So the repetitive process of coaching kids, I think, has helped with the repetitive process of looking at games or making bets or even thinking about numbers.
Well, let me ask you specifically, because we always look for actionable information as much as we can here on Wager Talk Today, every weekday, 9 a.m. Pacific time, noon for you back east. When you think about what you've learned watching the struggles and the life struggles that, as kids trying to find their way in the world, is there anything actionable you can take away? Say, hey, if I see this situation in a bettable game or in a D1 game, I'm going to be looking for it. Anything specifically actionable that you can take away with some of the lessons that you've learned?
You always hear defense wins championships, right? Defense wins bets. When a team can play defense, they're in the game. I'm looking at sports way more, and I always did, because I was always a better defender than an offensive player. Even in hockey, what I played in college, and in baseball, I was a pitcher, so I was always thinking, if I can get this guy out, it's going to be better. Well, now when I watch, like in a college basketball, Villanova, they don't light anything up. There's nothing exciting about what they do. All they do is win because they play defense, and they know what their teams that are very in touch with what they do can win as long as they can play defense. They don't have to score. They play their game. So when you see teams playing their game, not just being better at the game than the other team, whatever they do, that's the team I want to bet on. And so, that's why I think these 4 teams in this Final Four, any one of the 4 can win. The narrative's been great for Duke. Yes, North Carolina kicked their ass a few weeks ago in Duke. The line was 10. Now it's only 4, and people are betting Duke like if they're already punched a ticket to Monday. I don't know. Like, I've been wearing the North Carolina stuff, and I don't know if you guys like the kids say, Coach Dave, you got the nice fit. So I wore the Penguin stuff today because they're playing the Rangers, the baby blue, to match the hat. You got to have the fit to match the lid. I tried to do it today. I think North Carolina could win the game. It would ruin everybody's narrative, but I think they can win. You saw the line already move from 4.5 to 4. I don't know how much more it's going to move because, again, you get enough handle, and the books are good having decisions at this point of the year. They had a gigantic decision on Friday against St. Peter's, and St. Peter's won and beat them up for the whole day. They got it back on Sunday, so it gives and takes. There's 2 more games. There's 2 games, Saturday, and then the 1 game, and then we're off to baseball season and NBA playoffs and all that other stuff. So I think any one of the 4 teams can win right now. Do you see a clear-cut favorite, Theodore?
A clear-cut favorite? Not even close.
Not even close.
Yeah.
No, when you have
agree with your assessment, and the point spreads say that. When
exactly.
when
As you say, you have
team
2
is more than a
4-point spreads.
5-point dog.
Right, exactly. Yeah, the betting markets are saying these are two competitive games. And keep in mind, Villanova, Justin Moore, maybe their second most important player is out. That's the only reason that line is 4.5 or whatnot. It would have been 1.5 or 2 probably otherwise at most. Dave, a couple of things. First of all, it does seem like Duke is starting to get some love now after 5 straight non-covers. They've now won and covered 3 straight, but UNC has covered 8 out of 9. They've won 9 out of 10 straight up. So 2 red-hot teams there. But I want to get back to something real quick. You talked about defense wins championships, and we always hear that growing up. And it's different in every sport, right? I mean, first of all, in baseball/softball, a pitcher can carry you. In NHL hockey, a goaltender can carry you. That's defense. So I do think it really does win in those sports. But in football in recent years, it's been more of an offensive sport. But basketball, let's look at the offensive adjusted efficiencies of these 4 teams remaining. Duke, number 1. Kansas, number 7. Villanova, number 9. North Carolina, number 18. They're probably playing better than that the last couple of months, so they're probably top 10 right now as well. Defensive ratings for those 4 teams, 17, 18, 39, 45 for efficiencies. Is that amazing? I mean, it's not even like top 30, any of the 4. So it just shows once again that defense it wins championships, but offense gets you there. And I think that's one of the more overrated things. And it was more true maybe when we were growing up in the 70s, 80s, and 90s. But Dave, your thoughts on where these lines are heading? Also, that I want to talk to you about that Villanova game. Justin Moore, second best 3-point shooter, second most important shooter on the team, is out. I mean, he's done. He got hurt with 35 seconds left. And I know as a coach, that's something you hate to see, and I'm sure you've seen it as well through your coaching days. But, man, I mean, it always stinks to get hurt, but something about when the game is over, they've already won, and it's 35 seconds just really, really bothers me. I hate to see that. But Villanova did beat UConn by 11 in a high-scoring game earlier this year without Moore. We'll see if they can do it again.
That's a big loss, and I think, we'll hear about that all week. And I think you'll see that probably be bet a little closer towards the end of the week. These things won't move much between now and then. And Saturday, they may move. I saw the lines move Saturday. I was down at Circa, and I saw a couple of the lines move. They opened up the limits and they took big bets, so they over-moved them. And I thought, I don't think the lines are going to move much, Steve. I really don't. So I don't even think the totals are going to move much, which at this point is kind of surprising. You usually see the total move at least a point or 2 in a certain direction. But I think, people may be actually focused on betting on the NBA because I think people have been having some success betting on the NBA recently. It seems pretty easy. You just pretty much bet against the Lakers and you're fine. It's not that hard. Nothing personal. Ski. I don't want any drama if he goes back and watches the show. But, I don't know. Do you like Villanova?
Teddy, I want to get your thoughts. What are your thoughts on the injury?
Define like? I mean, there's not a like of Villanova. Is Villanova capable of winning the game? Of course they are.
Yeah.
No one's in this Final Four that's not capable of winning 2 games. It's not a scenario where there's a team that just isn't supposed to be here. They're all capable.
I tell people, though, all the time, like, you can't bet to win the Final Four, like, in the future pool now. Like, I don't think there's any – I mean, like, this is the rollover method now, right? You just take the team and just bet them and roll it over. Like, it's a no-brainer. The prices are already exhausted. It's literally a wrung-out towel. You don't need to bet that. Just bet the team to win and roll it over on the next game if they win. If you like them, don't bet, like, take 4-1 or 450 on Villanova. Like, bet them to win on Monday.
I would think that would have worked with all 4 of these teams throughout the tournament. And I'm curious, Dave, have you heard, has anybody got liability on Duke? I mean, that's the one team when Teddy and I talked to some bookmakers a few weeks ago, Gonzaga, Duke, Auburn, for some of them. We were talking to a guy points bet. I think Duke definitely had some liability for them of the 4 teams maybe remaining.
Duke is the one that, would do any damage. There's some high tickets on North Carolina. Some guys that I know and respect have them. But that's not going to really hurt the books. I talked to Chris Andrews yesterday on my other show, Bostonian versus the Book, and he said he's rooting against Duke. Like everybody else, he said. I don't know if everybody else is. I said, Chris, that's the team that a lot of people bet. So, it was just that funny talk back and forth. But, yeah, Duke is the one I think that books don't want to see win it all, I mean, they'll be fine. The books are always fine. It's going to be fine. Like, they have liability, but the books are fine. Don't worry about the books.
Dave Sharapan at SportsBK Consig on Twitter, the Sportsbook Consigliere. Dave, real quick before we let you go, first, anything you want to promote? And two, anything actionable you're seeing for tonight's card, whether it's NIT, NBA, or NHL?
First, I want to promote the Prez isn't here, but I got everybody sick. I hear it in your voice, Teddy. I'm fighting it myself. I'm like, you want drama? When I see Prez again, I'm not gonna slap him like Chris Rock got slapped by Will Smith. But my goodness, that was unbelievable too. No, we got the shows, Bostonian versus the book, me and Peralt. We're doing that every day, Monday through Friday from 10 to 11:30 or so Pacific in the morning, 1 to 2:30, and then Sports Grid and Sirius XM every night from 4 to 7. In addition to my own podcast, which is Cash Considerations, me and this guy, Dan Alexander, who's turned me into a Sixers fan, but the Sixers can't win the NBA championship as constructed. I'm nervous about them. Me, him, and Carl Haskell do the show every week. And then I do another show called 8 in a Box with a guy named Brad Howell, who's a tremendous human being, as well as a really knowledgeable college specialist in both football and basketball. Those are available wherever you get podcasts as well. Thanks, Teddy.
Yeah, and James Harden will be a test to see if offense wins championships versus defense wins championships, right?
Well, tonight's a big test. They're playing Milwaukee. It's the game of the day in the NBA. It's a 1.5 point spread with Philadelphia. That thing's going to flip. I mean, Milwaukee's going to go off the favorite, I think, as they rightly should. I think Milwaukee's the side. I don't know. Maybe people will bet the Sixers. I think the books are good needing Milwaukee in that spot. Against the Lakers, how high can you make it? Just bet against the Lakers. It just doesn't seem. I don't know what point they're going to cover. They don't play any defense. They're the worst team inside. And Utah's on an odyssey. I mean, they've been on a road trip. They were on a road trip last Tuesday when we were talking. You got to go against them. I think you bet the Clippers, but maybe this is the game Utah gets right. I would lean that way. Last week when I was on, I looked at the board. I gave you 4. They said there's 4 games, 3 favorites and a dog. It was going to be Orlando. It was Orlando. I threw in a couple hockey plays as well. Prez isn't here to toot his own horn. I'm tooting my own horn right now, even though I know nobody knows Squadouche, but it's fun. I hope everybody enjoys the show. Merril, I got to look at the hockey real fast because, the Penguins are playing the Rangers. Rangers are big plus price today. I think the Rangers are actually better than the Penguins. And I'm wearing the Penguins, stuff because I like it and it matches the fit. But I think the Rangers are a live dog today. And Colorado plays Calgary tonight. 2 really good Western Conference teams. Calgary's a really good hockey team that nobody's talking about. Short price today. I like them against Colorado. That's it.
Look at that. We got a little hockey, and without the Prez, without the drama, Dave brings us the president, the Sharapan presidential report address. It's copyrighted. So you get a little hockey info there from a sports.
It's fine. That's all his. I don't want any of that drama. I don't even want to be his running mate. That's Teddy's job. Teddy got to sit.
Are you his vice president? That came to me right as you said that. You could be his running mate. You could be his second in hand there. And man, what a powerful ticket that would be. Prez and Sharapan 2024 from the Las Vegas Strip. Dave, hope to see you soon on Sports Grid Network, Sports Grid TV, sportsgrid.com, and of course, channel 159, Sirius XM, and baseball around the corner. Dave's been known to do a little bit with the MLB network as well. You can find him everywhere during the baseball season. So, Dave, great to see you hold down the Vegas Strip for us. Teddy, you hold down the Vegas Strip as well, and we'll do this again tomorrow on Wednesday, same time, 12 noon Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific, and, of course, archive 24/7 here on WagerTalk TV. And when you're watching a video here on WagerTalk TV, do us a quick favor. It takes 2 seconds. Hit subscribe if you haven't already done so. We're almost at 100,000. Hit the like button. And if you want instant alerts when the shows go live, the videos go live, hit the bell. Subscribe, like, and comment below. Let us know your thoughts on the NCAA Final Four. Let me know your thoughts on the Villanova injury to Justin Moore, who you like tonight on Tuesday in the NBA, NIT, and NHL as well. And Teddy, take us home. We'll do it again tomorrow on Wednesday.
Exactly. That's going to wrap it for the Tuesday edition. We'll do it again in 23 hours and 10 minutes. 9 a.m. Pacific time, noon for you back east. Between now and then, enjoy the games and good luck tonight. Cheers.
Tuesdays is known as $2 Tuesdays at WagerTalk.com and SportsMemo.com, where you can get the hottest handicappers, best bet, or daily package for only $2.